I would be lying if I said that Longlegs was not my most anticipated film of the year. The marketing for the film has been nothing short of magnificent. I even made a video earlier in the year talking about the first teaser trailer that came out because it instantly grabbed me. It wasn't until about the second trailer that we got, the big trailer, where I was like a little worried about the marketing and sort of hyping it up to be something that it wasn't. And I had saw Reddit test screenings from I think over a year ago where people had their sort of thoughts on the film, specifically one person, and they were sort of split down the middle. So before I went into the screening, I definitely tempered my expectations because I figured the marketing would probably be better than the movie itself, which most of the time marketing is. That's the whole point, is to market your film so you can get people in the theaters. And Neon did a fantastic job. I thought that the marketing for this film is probably the best marketing I've ever seen. When we got into the theater, it was very strange because I was so excited to see the film, but then when the film, when it started, I instantly got this feeling where I was just, it was something subconsciously, it was telling me, hey, look, you need to calm down and appreciate this film for what it is rather than what's been shown to you. And that's exactly what I did. I saw this film twice. I saw it back to back. I went to one theater and then we went to another theater and saw it. And the first time that I watched it, I will not lie, I was disappointed, but not really. The first time that I saw it, I watched it and I was like, okay, this was not at all what I was expecting. I need to see it again. I want to see it again, appreciating the film as opposed to what people have said about it. And I actually have a very weird comparison to this film, and I actually have another comparison that I can make for another film that I was very excited to watch. But the reactions in the theater that I was in was not at all what I was expecting. Most people were laughing, few people fell asleep, and I was just kind of like, why? Because I'm not going to spoil anything about Longlegs whatsoever. I love the film. I thought it was a great film. The first time I watched it, I was not on board as much as I wanted to. And then the second time that I watched it, I just watched it for what it was. And if you go into this film expecting a next Silence of the Lambs, the next The Seven, the next Hereditary, you're going to be sorely disappointed because that's not what this film is and it's not what it's trying to be. And that's what director Osgood Perkins has tried to state, that he wasn't trying to make something that he was trying to terrify or make people feel bad. He was just making the film that he wanted to make. And I love Osgood Perkins as a director. I still think, I'm not sure, it's either between Longlegs or Blackcoat's Daughter. I think Blackcoat's Daughter is a terrific film. So I don't know, it's hard for me to, I'm gonna have to watch, I might watch both of them back to back one day and sort of see. But he does a more not typical, but he does a slow burn style of filmmaking where if you look at a lot of his, if you look on IMDb, Letterboxd, Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, all the things that you should probably avoid whenever you're watching a film, he does not hit well really with critics or audiences most of the time. I think two of his films have like below a 30, like a 20, which I think is just what? And then Blackcoat's Daughter has like a 50 from the audiences, which I think that is completely just... And Longlegs has around a 60, it had a 63 when I checked it last night. And I knew that was going to happen. I knew the marketing, people were going to go into this film expecting something that it wasn't, and that was that. But Longlegs, it's about a serial killer named Lee Harker who is investigating these murders from families that are basically, the families are basically offing themselves, killing each other, all that good stuff. And it's from somebody named Longlegs who there's no evidence that they've been at the crime scene whatsoever. And you sort of get to see this very interesting mystery come out where Micah Monroe is great. She is awesome. I got to watch her in The Watcher before I watched this. Blair Underwood and Alicia Witt they're also great. But Nicolas Cage definitely steals the show. Nicolas Cage in this film is fantastic. He is unsettling. The thing about Nicolas Cage that I appreciate for him is I think when he takes on a role, he knows that it's either going to be, it's going to resonate or it's not. But I appreciate Nicolas Cage so much because he goes for it. Like, he seriously does. And I appreciate that so much. He's like one of my dream actors to work with. Nicolas Cage, he just puts his all in everything that he does. And with I'm going to be honest, this is probably one of, if not my favorite Nicolas Cage performance. He is so unsettling as Longlegs in this film. But there were people that were laughing in the showing. There were people that were just, they thought it was silly. And that's okay. They're allowed to feel that way. That's fine. But what I saw was a very creepy, unhinged horror character that I think is going to live on in the horror pantheon for time to come. The film itself is also not as gruesome as a lot of people made it out to be, and it's definitely, I actually was not scared one time watching this film. I was more so engaged than I was scared, and I'm about to get to these comparisons in a second. The beginning of the film, there was basically people saying the first 10 minutes of this film before the title sequence was the most terrifying thing they'd ever seen. Okay, it was creepy, and it was not 10 minutes, it was more so like 2, but it was so good before that opening title sequence. I loved it. The film that I would compare this film to the most is Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Cure. That film is just magnificent. It is fantastic. It is a slow burn. The first time that I watched it, I watched all of these videos, people saying it was a masterpiece and it was one of the greatest horror films ever. People were telling me, hey, you gotta watch Cure from Kiyoshi Kurosawa. That film is great. I ended up, instead of waiting for the Criterion, I ended up buying the Region B Eureka release. And I watched it, and I was not the biggest fan of it. I was not. I was just like, okay, whatever. Then I rewatched the film, reevaluated it, and I was like, yeah, this is a masterpiece. This film is fantastic. And that's what Longlegs is it's a film that I need to watch more and appreciate it and sort of see what the director was going for, because that's something that the general audience, they can't do, and you can't really expect them to, you know, because they want to watch something that they want to watch. But again, you can't expect everybody to do that, and I understand why. But as a filmmaker, as somebody who loves cinema, that's something that I'm going to do, and that's something that I think you should do for Longlegs if it didn't hit with you the first time around. Another film that I was, probably the film that I was the most anticipated for before this, two films, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, strangely enough, and Zone of Interest. The first time that I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I was so excited for it. It was my most anticipated film ever at that point. And I'd even bought merch for it. I watched it and I told myself that I loved it, even though I was a tad bit disappointed. I've seen the film like another 4 times after that, to the point where I am not the biggest fan of that film anymore. I'm just not. But then the opposite, when I saw Zone of Interest, I drove 6 hours to go see the film. And when I watched it, I was like, that is a good movie. I really enjoyed it. It was in my top 5 of 2023. I even made my top 4 or 5 of 2023, and it was number 2. I ended up giving it Holdovers number 1, but then I ended up watching The Zone of Interest 2 more times. It took that spot. It is my favorite film of 2023, and not only is it my favorite film of 2023, it is in my top 10 favorite films of all time. That's why it matters to reevaluate films. And again, if you have not seen Longlegs and you've just so happened to stumble upon this video before you've seen it, please go in with tempered expectations. And when I say that, that does not mean that it's a bad film. It's a great film. It's an amazing film. I love Osgood Perkins. I will see anything that he does. He is probably one of the most exciting directors to me, just because I love his style and his approach and the way that he looks at filmmaking as a whole. But what I got was a great film that paid homage to some of my favorites, some of the classics, and it was just a well-rounded film that proved that Osgood Perkins is a great, he's a great director. And he doesn't give a fuck what you got to think about his stuff. Maybe he does, maybe he does. It doesn't seem like he does. He seems pretty nonchalant about things. Like, you're going to watch his film, and if you don't like it, that's fine. He's going to keep doing what he's doing. But that leads me to this, and this might be a little bit controversial. I love the Longlegs lore. I think the Birthday Murders website that's come out recently is a testament to that. I think they've done a great job with that, and I cannot wait to see it updated on Monday. But if this film does really good at the box office, which I'm assuming it's going to, I think it's eyeing like a $20 million opening, which is kind of insane for a film like this. If it ends up getting $100 million worldwide, I would not be opposed to getting a sequel or prequel to this. I think, honestly, this film could do the Godfather approach, where you could do a sequel/prequel to this. Like, I think it would be really cool to do modern day contemporary. The murders are happening again, and maybe Harker is brought back on because, she experienced this. And then we get to see flashbacks of Longlegs and how he came to be and what inspired him. That would actually be really, really cool. That would actually be awesome. I think that would be great. And people might not agree with it, and that's fine. But I think personally it would be great if Osgood Perkins did it. And another thing that I was really worried about this film is I heard that there was a lot of music in the film, like T-Rex. That is not the case whatsoever. Because I was excited that there were, because that's my style of music. I love T-Rex, like Cosmic Dancer, Bang a Gong, Jeepster. I love T-Rex. But I was scared that it was going to sort of ruin the tone. There's not a lot of music in this film if you were worried about it like I was, which you probably weren't. There are a handful of musical cues, not really. There's like one or two, like one that plays, and they're usually just on the radio and then in the credits. So I just was so glad that the score just engulfed me. Like, I love the score for this. I am tempted to get the vinyl. I don't know if I'm going to get the vinyl or not, just because I just feel like when I buy a vinyl these days, I listen to it once and I don't listen to it again. And I'm more so a Blu-ray collector than I am a vinyl collector anyway, but I'm thinking about it. I'm tempted. If Osgood Perkins is watching this video, thank you for making such an interesting and original, unique film. Thank you for being an inspiration to probably many filmmakers such as myself. This film just got me. I don't like talking about my filmmaking whenever I do videos like this, just because it's not about me, it's about the movie that I'm talking about. But it really did inspire me a lot to, you know, I don't have a problem getting inspired to write, but I was just sitting there and I was like, I cannot wait to just start working on my next thing. Like, this is just so exciting. It shows that taking risk is important, and whether you nail it or you don't, you just probably should. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a thumbs up and maybe subscribe. If you guys want to check out my link tree down in the description, and down in the description below, you can. If you want to check out my filmography, it would mean the world to me. You can also leave a rating on Letterboxd or IMDb. But thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of Longlegs down in the I can't even talk. The comments below, and I'll see you next time.